of the former international championship champion and the reigning world champion, Zhang playing Zhao Xintong. It's the best of 11
the first frame.
For a place in the last 8. Zhao to get us underway. And this second meeting between the pair, Dominic, has been a long time coming. You've got to go back a decade for their only previous encounter.
Yes, absolutely. And because of that, I think you can completely forget all about that previous meeting. Zhang did win it, but it was at a qualifier for the 2015 Australian Open. Breaking off seems to be a problem on these match tables, especially now they've been reclothed. Very difficult not to leave that long red on, and to be honest, that's the type of long pot players practice a lot of, because it does come up rather a lot. Obviously Zhao Xintong favourite to win this match, but Zhang has a great deal of pedigree as well, having won a major world ranking title himself a couple of years ago, the International Championship. But Zhao Xintong, of course, our reigning world champion, and very high up in terms of the bookmakers' odds.
Zhang is going for his 3rd consecutive quarter-final in this tournament. And for Zhao Xintong, well, what a 12 months it's been for him. The road to redemption began here when he came through 4 rounds of qualifying, having been invited to compete, courtesy of his extraordinary performances on the Q Tour when he won 4 events and made 2 maximum breaks. He lost narrowly to Sean Murphy when he got to the Barbican, but of course he then made history at the Crucible. And he comes into this tournament hot off the heels of winning his first title since then, the Invitational Riyadh Season Snooker Championship. In which he bagged Dom £250,000 for 2 days' work. That's a good hourly rate.
Yes. I think a lot of us would like a job like that, that's that well remunerated. Mind you, I mean, some of the other sports people across the world in their respective sports, goodness me, there's a lot of money to be earned. It's great to be a sports person, isn't it? But it's a lifelong discipline. It takes a great deal of practice. So Zhao Xintong in first here. Made his highest ever tournament break at last year's UK Championships, one of 146. But that amazingly was eclipsed by his opponent today, made a maximum in last year's UK Championships. That's such a good pot. When it's your first opportunity, that's exactly the type of pot that most players would have difficulty with until they settle down into the match and find their rhythm. But this gentleman has such a straight, flat cue action, there's not an awful lot that can go wrong with it, in all honesty.
Eight.
It was pretty comfortable for Zhao in his first match against Longzhe Wang, 6-1. Actually, prior to travelling to Riyadh, it hadn't been a great season for him. Just 1 round of 16 in a ranking event. And of course he's had to absorb everything that goes with becoming a world champion, the first from China. Quite an achievement to adjust to. So perhaps not entirely surprising that his results early season were a little disappointing. But
10.
The beauty of the tour these days is that there's so much snooker, there's so much time to find your feet. And this would be a good place to do it. Former champion, of course, from 4 years ago.
11.
He happened to finish so nice on that red, he was able to cannon the red away from the black, but would have liked to have caught the right-hand side of it to leave a little bit more distance between the two balls. Just clip that red, but it's still potable. But this will require a little bit of attention.
18.
Certainly a missable red that he's left himself.
Zhao Xintong, 19.
A surprise, except that we've seen all sorts of balls missed into these corner pockets this week.
Oh, fortunately, he was so close to the pot that it remained near the pocket jaws, and of course Zhang therefore can't pot this red. He may look to see if he can possibly strike the cushion rail first and pop the red in off the black, but sometimes to a player that shot looks on, but when you actually attempt to play it, it doesn't work out.
Zhang's story in this sport is one of the more remarkable of modern times when you consider that a couple of years ago he was largely considered a journeyman pro, ranked in the high 50s, and then he turned up at the English Open. He made the final. He came close to winning that final against Judd Trump, didn't quite manage it, and you wondered whether that was his 15 minutes of fame come and gone. But not a bit of it. He then turned up at the International Championship, beat O'Sullivan, and won the final, and made a 147 in the process. Lots of other very good results since then, which propelled him into the top 16. He's fallen out now because he's lost all of those points that he gained. But it was a remarkable turn of events for Zhang to turn himself from a middle-ranking player into one of the best in the world.
Absolutely. I've played Zhang many times over my career, but it's only the last half a dozen years he seems to have really come to the fore. Celebrates his 34th birthday on Christmas Day, no less.
Please.
Well, that seemed rather odd because Zhang played the red, which struck the baulk cushion pretty much in a straight line, but when he rebounded from the baulk cushion, it seemed to turn right and go straight into the yellow. It could be very costly if Zhao Xintong can see the black. Oh, he can't see the black and can't see any likelihood of continuing the break, really, with the angle that he has on green and brown. He may as well play a safety here.
Brown ball.
Well, the fact that he's potted it suggests to me that one of the reds at the back of the pack will cut into the left corner as a shot to nothing. And he's taking it on. It does go.
Zhao Xintong, 5.
nicely played by Zhang, but it really ought not to be a problem for Xintong to leave things perfectly safe.
Yes, the winner of this match to play either John Higgins or Sean Murphy, one of the standout round of 16 matches coming up this evening from 6:45 here on TNT Sports. Zhang under here, courtesy of qualifying victories over Alan Taylor, Tepchire and New, and then that comeback against Gary Wilson from 2 down with 3 to play. And I think one of Zhang's many attributes is his temperament. Nothing seems to faze him. He gives virtually nothing away in the way of emotion when he's out in the arena, whether it's going well or not so well for him. Keeps his counsel, and he is a very smooth operator when it comes to break building when he's playing well. Never ideal, Dom, when you've got a colour obscuring a corner pocket so early in the frame. The danger is that things become a bit bogged down.
Yes, that's true, but it does relieve some of the pressure upon some of your safety shots. They become easier to play knowing that the pocket is blocked. I think another one of Zhang Anda's attributes undoubtedly is his temperament, as you suggested, but he's undemonstrative. He doesn't really show any emotion, good or bad. I'm just looking at the 4 reds in a line at the side of that little group of reds. I wonder if there's a chance of fluking a red here. Well, that's certainly opened things up a little.
Well, this is the black that Zhao missed. Very surprising. Hit it too thick. But he's a fantastic long potter, and that may well have opened the frame up for him.
Yes, beautifully cued. I'm wondering where the black will be spotted. Okay, the pink spot's free. Well, that's good for Xintong because the black will be available into the left-hand corner and probably the right centre. So the black is still in play. Ben Williams officiating this afternoon. Familiar face on the snooker tour.
8. 9.
Oh, he has an awkward angle here on the black. He'll have a big problem getting onto his next red from it, unless he takes a cue ball in and out of bulk. Decided to try and hold the cue ball as best he could. Well, obviously the red to the left of the pink spot will pot.
16. 17.
the most straightforward table by any means, and that little
22.
unintended cannon on the green hasn't helped, leaving him some distance away from this red, and not a full pocket to aim at either. So good cueing required here. A little wide.
Zhang.
Certainly a handy lead.
Well, he was brave to take that on. Had he missed that red on the other side of the pocket, it would have cannoned into the red and the pink, and that would have done a great favour to Zhang, who could have been right in amongst them. He's yet to gain a decent opportunity in this opening frame. But Zhao Xintong's been fortunate there. The red he missed has rebounded to a position of safety. Now a chance for Zhao Xintong to play a thin safety off the three reds near the black spots, and if he can bring those into play, it'll certainly go a long way to helping him get back into this first frame should he get an opportunity.
Conditions have been challenging throughout this week at the Barbican. We've had just the 19 centuries coming into this afternoon session on day 6. Mark Selby with the highest, a 133. Of course, we had 2 maximum breaks in qualifying in Wigan, and 83 centuries over the 6 days of competition there. Zhang Bingyu and Liam Pullen making the perfect breaks.
Now, is there any likelihood that Zhang can snick this red into the centre pocket? It's very, very thin, but it may just be cuttable. And if he could manage it, the cue ball could very well cannon into the red and the pink and develop those as well.
One.
Zhang's best showing so far this season was at the Wuhan Open, where he made the quarterfinals, losing to Mark Williams. Goodness me. He didn't cue that well, and it was well wide of the pocket before the pink intervened. That's some fluke.
8.
Well, fortunately, from Zhao Xintong's point of view, Zhang hasn't finished on his next red because it was a very serendipitous cannon from black to red. And that's pushed pink and the red next to it into play now. But that's not a good safety, well short of the bolt cushion.
was a couple of postcodes out from Zhao Xintong, so it's a pretty cagey opening to this frame. Zhao has built up what is certainly a useful lead, but there's still bags of points there for Zhang if he can get in.
Zhang has always been a very good tactical player. It's just the last few seasons whereby he's matching his tactical prowess with his scoring and potting abilities as well, and he's become a formidable player. And they're very familiar with one another's games as well, because they've practiced together a lot over the years, these two.
Zhang has now made 4 maximum breaks, one in this tournament last season against Lei Pei Fan, another this season at the Shanghai Masters, one of the record 16 we've had already this campaign. And as mentioned, he made one in defeating his opponent to win the International Championship in the final. A 10-6 victory over Tom Ford, having beaten O'Sullivan in the semis and Ding Junhui prior to that. This frame already nearly 24 minutes old. If Zhao Xintong pots the next red, you've got to think he'll go on to win the frame with the lead he's got.
Much too thick on his intended safety there, and finally Zhang has the opportunity that will give him the chance to erase the majority of that deficit.
One. Six. Seven.
The challenge for Zhang now is to get back to the top 16, having climbed as high as number 10 in the world last year. That would arguably be an even greater achievement than getting there in the first place. given the standard now. And it's tournaments like this with the big money and points at stake that can really propel you up those rankings with a deep run. Guaranteed 20,000 for the winner today. $250,000 to the winner on Sunday.
Now, I think that Zhang under there was trying to leave an angle on the black to run through into the two reds together. And it's very difficult to see whether he's left that angle, because he needs to be just high or straight on the black. Oh, too straight. So he'll have to play for the red closest to his hand now. And if the red passes the blue to the green pocket,
21.
He'll have another opportunity to leave the angle on the black to run through into those two reds. Be much better if he can pot the red to the far right corner.
Zhang under 21.
It always looked just a little wide, and worse, he's left that red for Zhao Xintong.
Won't be easy though for Zhao Xintong to leave an angle on a colour to go into those two reds.
One. Five. Thank you. Zhang, 5.
Zhang under just having a look to see what might happen to the top red of those two on contact with the one below it. Chances are it will be deflected towards that left corner, but how close to it remains to be seen.
In it, 43 remaining, but the table is now completely open. So there's definitely a possibility for Zhang. But that's a good safety from Zhao Xintong. I see a lot of players playing
this escape with too much pace and trusting to luck, whereas most players would just drop in behind the red that's near the top cushion, because that does guarantee safety.
Foul and a miss. Zhao Xintong 4. Zhang.
They're still playing the first frame on the other table, by the way. Someone was taken ill in the arena, so play was halted for around 9 minutes. Ding Junhui playing Scott Donaldson, of course. That's on Discovery Plus. The winner to play Judd Trump, the defending champion. Could definitely have been a worse kiss for Zhang Anda. This frame now into its 33rd minute. It's been a long one. And had that red gone in, it was almost certainly 1-0 Zhao. As it is, there's still some hope for the underdog.
For me, it's risky to play the red in bulk. You could easily leave it near a corner pocket. You could double this red up towards it and come twice across the table and try and leave the cue ball in a line with the pink spot and try and affect the snooker that way. So you see the frame time well over half an hour and be quite a while left in it yet. He'll be disappointed with that, Zhang Anda, not to have played the red past the blue.
And that applause is for Ding Junhui, who has taken the opening frame against Scott Donaldson.
Chance here for Zhang Anda to pot this long red. Can play for any number of colours really. Yellow, green, brown or blue. He's just got to watch if he doesn't wobble this red, that it goes across and cannons the other one towards the pocket. But the one he's played may remain potable, and it has. 26 points is the lead for Zhao Xintong, so he will need that awkward red that's on the bulk cushion.
One.
Zhao Xintong has always looked favoured in this frame. Of course, he missed a pretty routine black very early in the piece. And there have been a couple of errors since then. But he's always been in front. So now it's down to this red.
6.
And these have got to be hit very accurately, as we've seen throughout the tournament.
7.
And that's what Zhao Xintong has been able to do. So it's been quite a struggle, this frame. But it looks like the world champion is going to take it.
Zhao Xintong, 7. And the frame.
And Zhang Anda concedes. So, after 36 minutes, it's Zhao Xintong, the former UK champ. That was, as Dominic mentioned,
The second
in
frame.
Australian Open qualifying
Anda to break.
2015. Zhang won that day, but he's 1-0 down this afternoon.
And again, from the break-off shot, a very similar long red has been left. And I feel Zhao Xintong could take this on and play for the black here, because he couldn't leave anything easy for his opponents unless he leaves the one that he's about to take on. But is he digging down to play it with pace? Well, I can't begin to tell you how much more difficult that made the pot. And you can see what a mistake he's made. It could be extremely costly, because there are half a dozen possible reds here at least for Zhang Anda now.
One.
I think he was a little surprised how far the cue ball ran through there, but he's okay if he plays a cannon on the red directly above the black.
Eight. 9. $51.
His top break against Gary Wilson was 87, but it was the way he was able to overturn that precarious 5-3 deficit that impressed. The cool head that he possesses. Very difficult to knock out of his stride. An unruffled sort of character, Zhang.
Quite some time.
Yes, and as Alan mentioned ahead of this match, he likes the centre ball striking, doesn't he? He's not a player who tends to use a great deal of side.
No, and he doesn't have the flair either of his opponents, and I think in snooker that can be a good thing.
Just checking the scoreboard, he's pretty close to levelling this match. Against Barry Hawkins. So Zhao Xintong sitting out frame 2 to that immaculate break from his opponent.
Well, this is almost identical to the long red that Zhao Xintong missed in the previous frame, which cost him the frame. The only big difference is, I suppose, it's the cue ball, which is probably 7 or 8 inches further off the baulk cushion. But similarly to the previous frame, Zhang Anda could easily stroke this red in to play for the black. it was a tough pot, but I really expected Zhang to be a lot closer to it. But look where the red has finished, though, over the centre pocket. That means that playing safety shots now into bulk becomes too much of a risk, I feel.
Ding Junhui has made a great start against Scott Donaldson. He's just made a century to double his lead. So 2-0 Ding, who always seems to come alive in this tournament, regardless of form, having won it 3 times. In fact, his international championship triumph last season was his first title since his third UK 5 years previously. Looking good at the moment in the early stages against the qualifier.
Strong chance, I feel, that this frame could be ended by way of a re-rack. Oh, well, that certainly changes things. Zhang was willing to take the risk of removing that red from the middle pocket. May have surrendered the tactical advantage now, though. I'm surprised that Xintong played such a basic, simple, straightforward shot there, because Xintong could, I beg your pardon, Zhang could play quite a good safety. And he has done. So Xintong coming to the table now in a little bit of trouble.
As mentioned, his form wasn't great before he turned up at the Riyadh Season Snooker Championship. Just 1 round of 16 in a ranking event. That was very tough, and he got close. He's currently 18th on the 1-year list.
Well, because of his previous safety shot, Xintong, he was more or less forced to take that red on. There was no easy path back to bulk. It was a good effort, but it could be costly again. Now, in potting this red to the left corner, can Zhang cannon that red away from the black? If he can, he could easily finish on the black. Beautifully played.
7.
Things are looking good now for Zhang Anda, having lost the first frame.
Well and truly in stroke after that superb century. A total clearance, no less, in frame 2.
14. 15.
Prior to that burst of success out of the blue, he was best known really for
22.
qualifying for the Crucible on his debut and then very nearly toppling the great Stephen Hendry in the first round, but not quite.
23.
And there have been some tough moments in his career. 3 times he slipped off the tour and got back on again. I mentioned that he considered
30.
packing it in altogether during COVID. He's an example of what is possible if you keep believing.
$31.
I wonder how these reds will split if he goes into them, because they don't look a great pack of reds to go into from the black necessarily. Hasn't worked out particularly well, but he
88.
does have a couple of possible options.
$39.
And Zhao is down at 71 in this match at the moment in terms of pot success. He's gone for a couple of long ones without success. Zhang looking confident. This is a good chance now. 42 in front already.
43.
He's suffering the consequences, really, of playing such a straightforward safety shot previously, Zhao Xintong. He gave
48.
Zhang Anda the tactical advantage, and he's a very good tactician, Zhang Anda, and he put Zhao Xintong in trouble, more or less forced him to take on a very difficult pot, which he did get close to. But he did leave it on, and it could be very costly. Zhang Anda looking in fine form here.
$49.
The top red of those 4 below the pink spot will pot into the left corner. May not be able to hold for that red here, but there are 2 possible reds above it. Coming round off 2 cushions. Nicely played.
54. 55.
Could we see a second consecutive century from Zhang Anda here?
62.
Zhao on the back foot at the moment. Hasn't had a great deal of table time. The first frame was long and
63.
a bit scrappy. But since then, it's been all Zhang. He's been monopolising proceedings, and this black will be sufficient to make it 2-0, barring a snooker. 2-1, I should say. And he's cueing beautifully. He's got that great rhythm.
70.
That's his trademark. Well and truly up and running this afternoon.
$71.
Early days, but one or two early concerns for the world champion.
$74. $75.
Nice angle here to play a delicate cannon into the three reds. If he catches the left-hand red at the bottom there.
Zhang Anda, a 128 total clearance, eclipsed now by a 129 for 2 frames. And his cue ball control throughout both of those breaks was
Zhang Anda to break.
absolutely bang on. His pot success now at 94%, as mentioned. Zhao currently at 71. Nearly half an hour since he did pot one.
Well, that red isn't quite potable, the one to the left. You could play it with a trace of side spin to try and kick the red towards the pocket. I think it's potable then. The problem is, if he runs through for the black, he could leave a gap to the red that's just to the right of the black, which then becomes potable. So if he does try to take this red on, it could be risky. Well, luckily, he hasn't left the red to the right of the black. I think the cue ball's rebounded just too far for it to be possible. But furthermore, this red has just also run too far to be cuttable. Or has it? Maybe it's just cuttable. It's very thin. But he really does have his eye in Zhang Anda. He did cut it in, and it was thin. And he's on the blue. Wrong side of it, but I don't think that will be too much of a problem. Well, I can't understand why he preferred the missable brown to the blue there. It was so easy to take the cue ball in and out of bulk. And there was such a big area he could have left the cue ball in to pop the red to the right corner. He had 3 or 4 feet to play with.
That's the shot of a man who has been frozen out for the last couple of frames. Quite close to the side cushion. Not easy, particularly so when you've not had too many shots. So Zhang's missed Brown, proving not to be significant.
One.
That is one of the things I love about snooker, is the way that you can affect your opponent's performances by your own good play. And the other great thing, I mean, there's some fantastic potters and break builders in snooker, but if you put those players under pressure, the first part of your game that does suffer is your ability to pot balls from distance or from awkward positions such as this.
8.
Just close enough to the cushion there for it to be difficult enough to be missed. And now with that red near the left corner, it must be worth going into the pack here to bring a few more into play, knowing that he really ought to be on that red that's close to the left corner.
$16.
Yes, on another day, Zhang might have left a much easier starter for Zhao Xintong, and then he could have been away with a big break. We know he's more than capable of them, but it wasn't to be, and now he may be warming his seat for a good while longer, the way Zhang is queuing.
Thank you. 17.
Well, he probably would have preferred to be straighter on this black and closer to it, because you don't really want to be playing further cannons into balls here. It can always go wrong. Will he just try and drop this in to be on a red to the right corner? Play for a mid-distance red to the left corner, still pretty good.
It's a pretty good record he's got in this tournament. He's going for his third straight quarter-final appearance at the UK. Well, that is a surprise.
24.
So that is a potential turning point. He's cross. He doesn't show much emotion, but the way he looked away from the table, he fully expected to get this one and maybe go on to make another frame-winning break. And worse, he has this time, Dom, left the easy starter for his opponent.
Yes, this is exactly what Zhao Xintong needed. It's his first really good opportunity for quite some time. But just go back to that shot a few moments ago that Zhang played, the red to the left corner. He didn't get close enough to the black, just dropped the black in. And he just left himself far enough away from that red to the left corner for it to be a problem.
Nine.
Yeah, I think Zhao was slightly concerned there, given what we've seen this week. Anything at pace, slightly off-centre, has had a tendency to stay out, but it's dropped. And if he could get out of this little mini session at 2-all, he would be highly delighted. The first frame was a struggle, which he did win. Didn't take part in the next two.
$16.
Well, he played for red to the left corner there, but didn't create enough side spin on the cue ball to widen the angle. So he really has a choice of probably 3 reds here, but he's not well on any of them. The safer red to play is the one above the cue ball to the left centre. He could play for a bulk colour, and he's less likely to leave his opponent right in if he misses it. But that's not the way that Zhao Xintong ordinarily thinks. He's playing it to the yellow pocket to screw back for pink or black. And he's made a bit of a hash of that positionally. That's end of break.
Xintong, 17. Thank you.
Average break, whatever that means. There's a huge disparity there. I suppose it means when the player has an opportunity. Zhao Xintong's case is scoring 12.5 points, which seems rather difficult to do.
Yes, his pot success will be a concern. Still down in the low 70s. And Zhang has given up a couple of errors in this frame, but it's not hurt him. He's still in front, coming back to the table.
Foul, miss. Xintong, 4.
Well, he tried to play a little bit of a swerve shot there so that he could cannon the red the way he wanted to take the cue ball back to bulk. And what happened was that he just over-swerved the cue ball and missed them completely. But it's not particularly difficult to play well. He'll probably have another go at this. Just lifting the butt of the cue in the air. You'll see the action of the cue ball here. It just swerved to the left. There it was. Could do with a cannon on the brown. That won't happen. So a chance for Zhao Xintong. But not an easy starter with the cue ball so close to the side cushion.
4 out of 9 from distance so far for the world champion.
Four.
3-0 now to Ding, by the way, on table 2 against Scott Donaldson.
Five. Ten. $11.
Zhao Xintong would be delighted to be 2-all at the mid-session interval. And that scoreline is completely in his hands with this opportunity.
18. $19. 24.
It was looking likely the way Zhang was queuing that he was going to make another big break before missing the red to the left corner. Zhao doesn't have to worry about the awkward red close to the side cushion.
32. $39.
That was the ball he needed, and the black to make sure. So a satisfactory score for Zhao Xintong. He won't be entirely happy with the way he's played to this point, but no damage done, it would seem. They'll be coming out after the interval honours even. This is the red that Zhang missed, and he wasn't missing anything really prior to that. He had missed the brown earlier in the frame, but Zhao had then immediately missed himself.
47.
And then Zhao was able to get him with a longish red into this right corner, and he's done the necessary to tie up the match.
$54.
Just an hour and 20 minutes of play. It's been very entertaining snooker. The first frame, remember, lasted over half an hour, so the frames have flown by since then. Two outstanding breaks from Zhang. Both total clearances. But Zhao has made a very important response in this fourth frame.
63. $68.
$68 will do. So it's set up perfectly for when they come back in about 15 minutes' time. Zhang Anda produced two of the best century clearances you'll see. He's been the better player, but he's got nothing to show in terms of an advantage at the mid-session.
And, you know, he'll just brush himself down, and he knows that he's striking the ball well. He can take fond memories from the two frames that he's won already in this little mini-session and reset and go again.
Victoria, either way, gets an awful lot of cash, so she'll be no doubtedly watching every single ball of this one, but we can hand to our commentary teams throughout Europe.
The world champion getting us back underway, and undoubtedly he will be the happier of the two that the first four frames were shared. Zhang looked $1 million in frames 2 and 3 with the way he was cueing his immaculate cue ball, two total clearances back to back, and that chance to make it 3-1 potentially before missing the red to the left corner, which allowed Zhao in for a break himself to level up. So we're now in home nations territory, Dom. It's a best of 7 from here for a place in the quarterfinals.
Yes, absolutely. Just wonder if Zhang Anda can continue his brilliant form of that little mini session there, or whether Zhao Xintong will find his form and begin to dominate. Nothing yet to suggest that that's going to happen, of course, but I think Zhao will be the happier of the two. I know he won the first frame, but he didn't have a look in for the next two. And had Zhang Anda not missed that red to the left corner, he could easily be 3-1 behind Zhao Xintong. So 2-all for him is a bit of a result.
Talking of the one-year ranking list, which of course carries great significance in terms of the Players Series events for the top 32, the top 16 and the top 12 coming up in the new year. Zhang's got work to do in that regard. He's down at 37th. As mentioned, Zhao Xintong at 18th. So Zhang needs further progression if he's to get into the World Grand Prix. And Zhao with a bit of work to do for the Players and the Tour Championships. And that is a wonderful piece of cueing again from Zhang Anda.
Smallest of gaps between the yellow and the blue. Could have acted as a bit of a guide. It certainly wasn't without risk. I'm sure that red to the left of the cue ball, and you can see it in that shot, it was certainly potable for his opponent had he have missed that. But he's right in here. Zhang Anda, he'll be looking, of course, to re-establish that focus, that concentration that was clearly evident in that first little session of 4 frames.
$70. $24. $25.
Maybe 5 or 6 seasons ago, a pot success of 90% was what you were looking for, but I think the standard these days is so high, you need to be looking at 92% or more to guarantee success.
There's no doubt that the usual stats
30.
have been somewhat skewed this week by the demanding nature of the table, certainly before the recovering. Century breaks, normally
31.
plentiful, have been relatively rare in the early days of this event. A lot of balls into the corner pockets jawed rather than going in. But Zhang has been finding the back of the leather on a regular basis so far today.
$38. $39.
Overhit that one a little, too high on the blue. Can't just stun down for his next red now. So he either has to drop the blue in and come off the top cushion, which wouldn't be a bad shot if he could avoid cannoning the red to the left of those 4 by the pink. Could consider playing a cannon into the pink and 4 reds, just basically to hold the cue ball in position. But it's not the shot that he had in mind. So there's the cannon, needs a bit of luck, and it hasn't worked out particularly well. He does still have a cuttable red to the left corner, and he could possibly go up into bulk for the green. That would take pressure off the pot.
48.
This break becoming a little more challenging now, but he's one good pot away from getting back into prime position. But this is certainly missable, with plenty of red still there for Zhao to make a counter. So this is a big shot.
Yep. 49.
Nicely potted. The slower he can drop this black in, the better he'll be on his next red.
He really does stroke the ball so nicely. It's
56.
attractive to watch when he's cueing as he has today.
57.
What a red it was to get in. Perfectly cued from under the ball cushion. Zhao has done nothing wrong in this frame, but he may not get a shot.
$64.
This red and a further colour to retake the lead.
$65. $71. $72.
Well, if there was any frustration at not carving out a lead, given how well he played before the interval as the world champion watches on, there's certainly no evidence of it. Based on how he's played this frame, getting in with
79.
a great long red. The shot with the rest was key. It was
80.
missable. And now threatening his third century of the match.
$87.
Shame. No third century, but that's another terrific contribution of 87, launched by a great long red, and Zhang back in front here at the bar.
Thank you. The sixth frame. Zhang to break.
More of the same from Zhang. He's making all the running in this match so far. He's back in front, courtesy of another fine break of 87, launched by a terrific long red. Great cueing from tight to the baulk rail. Halfway to his third consecutive UK Championship quarter-final. He's up against the former champion. In just their second meeting, a decade after their first. Both very, very different players since then. That's more like it. At his best, peerless from distance. We haven't seen those difficult long pots going in with any frequency today from Zhao, but that one was terrific.
Where does this pink go? Is it spot occupied? It is, so it'll have to go as close to it, but in a direct line with this top cushion. So that's why it's having to be placed behind the pack of reds. because it has to be in the line with the centre of the table.
7.
That may be useful because it could be that the pink is actually still possible. Just needs to be careful with this red though, to left centre, because he's tight under that cushion.
Eight.
And in an ideal world, he'll play for the red just above the black in such a way as to cannon the other red away from the black to bring it into play, but he'll have to be very precise with the cue ball here. Needs to just slow down. Do you know, I think he's played it to perfection.
Eleven.
Zhao may be inspired by the level of snooker his opponent has produced for most of this match.
18.
He knows he's going to have to play exceptionally well to beat Zhang today, on the evidence of what we've seen so far. And it was a good response to sitting out another frame to rake in a long red as he did to set up this chance to level again.
Well, that's less than ideal.
26.
The red to the left centre. He has too much angle on for comfort. The red to the right corner is better positionally, possibly. Did quite well there, but I'm not sure it's a good idea to go into the reds here. I don't think they'll split well.
$34. 35. 42.
Oh, he's a long way away from his next red, but it shouldn't be a problem. Doesn't have to do much with the cue ball for good position on the black.
Xintong, 42.
A surprise. He was further away than he wanted to be, but you would still have expected him to get that. I guess the shot dom always feels that little bit different when you've got that mini butt extension on the end of your cue.
Yes, I think his biggest problem there was the fact that he was hampered by the yellow and had such a long bridge. Just couldn't cue it straight. But fortunately, he got away with it. But he'll have to be content with that 42 points advantage, which he'll now look to protect or increase on. Should he decide to take this straightish red to the right corner. It's a big risk, though. If he misses it, could easily leave all sorts of possible reds on for his opponent.
Well, that's a great sign for Zhao. He's not quite been on it today, but beginning to show signs that he's getting there. A great response to the disappointment of missing the red just now, which was a good deal more straightforward than that one.
Having to force the black in to go into the reds made it difficult enough from Zhao's perspective, and big chance this now for Zhang.
He's just beginning to show signs of finding the necessary form. Potted that great long red, the second of the frame, only to miss frame-winning counter. Those are the most successful percentages of the tournament so far. Mark Selby has been looking ominously good again, fresh from his Champion of Champions victory when he finished against Judd Trump with 3 straight centuries in that final. 2.
12.
Zhang would love to be able to play for the pink from his next red. If you can get that back on its spot, immediately there's a red just next to the pink that becomes available then into the right corner. Can he come around the back of the pink here to play it in the same pocket as the red? Personally speaking, that's what I'd be looking to try to do.
18.
Drop the pink in slowly. He will delicately cannon the middle red of those 3, and he could bring them into play and be on a red quite nicely here. So the slower the better. All of a sudden, Zhang Anda is in the box seat
25.
in this 6th frame. He'll be beginning to have the odd thought now about the red that's up near Bolt, because it doesn't pass the yellow and it doesn't pass the green.
$33.
Well, if the green is dead straight and he can see it, it may be worth potting it here, because he could play for that red into the left centre.
And this would hurt Zhao Xintong rather more than the 2 century clearances that Zhang Anda made. Indeed, the 87 that he made, knocking in that great red from the baulk rail, because he was in. He was well in front. He missed the black in using pace. And Zhang has this opportunity to punish him.
Just didn't run through enough there, ideally.
Getting back into the match with back-to-back frames against Ding on Discovery Plus. Ding leading by 3 frames to 2.
Thank you. The 7th frame. Zhao Xintong to break.
Zhao Xintong under pressure now then. The world champion 4-2 down. And having to overcome the disappointment of seeing that frame that he was in charge of slip away.
I really do think Zhang can attempt this red to play for the black. Didn't know. But this is where general knowledge of the game and being aware of the match situation really does come to the fore, because if you're Zhang Anda, you probably think, well, Zhao Xintong's making mistakes. I don't want to give him an easy path back into the match by taking undue risks. All these things you have to consider as a player before you decide on what shots you're going to play, whether it be an attacking one or a tactical one. between the green and the blue. Now, he potted a very similar pot to this in the opposite corner in the previous frame, I think it was. Oh, well, could scarcely have cued that better. It was the only ball he was likely to leave, and he has left it. That's very unfortunate. It's beautifully cued. Now it's imperative that Zhao Xintong can do something with this, if not just to win the frame at one visit, but just to send a signal to his opponent that he will be dangerous should mistakes be made.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. 1.
Zhao's run to the World Championship all the way from the first round of qualifying was as much a feat of endurance as it was skill. It took him almost exactly a full calendar month
6.
from when he hit his first ball to when he lifted the silver Shepherdess.
7.
He played 172 frames to become world champion. Well, that's extraordinary. Not the first time he's missed a routine black today. He did so in the very first frame of the match. And of course, in playing with pace, missed one in the previous frame. It proved very significant. And another chance goes begging.
One.
Well, undoubtedly, Zhao Xintong is under pressure because of the scoreline, but the other problem of play has been a bit fragmented, as it has been today, certainly with his pot success down at just 81%. His concentration and focus won't quite be there. He needs to score heavily for a frame or two just to get in that zone that's always required. But he is running out of time. Zhang has played so well today. If he scores heavily from here, well, he'll just be a frame away from victory.
But no, not this time.
6.
So Zhao gets a reprieve. And this frame is huge, clearly, given the difference between a 4-3 scoreline and 5-2 to Zhang. Zhang will be aware of that. Maybe that played into the misread to some extent. Not the best safety from Zhao, not for the first time today. It was quite weak, wasn't it? The full ball cannon on the yellow, not what's required when you're playing this man who's been queuing so well for most of this match.
Perhaps Zhang has just lost a touch of composure. Desperate to win this frame, of course, to really put pressure on Zhao Xintong and just be a frame away from victory. was a good pot. He didn't have the whole pocket to aim at there. Now can Zhao Xintong finally do something in this match?
Could be one of those situations which we see often in this sport where you can profit from a poor shot. It was a weak safety that could have been punished. This time it wasn't. And so the chance falls to him.
Six.
Made just 2 breaks of any note in this match, a 68 and a 42. Hasn't made any other breaks above 30.
7.
Needs a bit of luck here. He'll be going into the pack of reds with pace. Skimmed off them though, so he certainly doesn't have an easy next red. There are a couple of potable ones.
12.
Could play the red closest to the cue ball into the yellow pocket. A couple of possible reds, possibly to the right centre. But he's missed a lot of easier balls than this afternoon. And that wasn't particularly close.
Zhao Xintong, 12.
In fact, the red that Zhao Xintong has just missed has finished in a potable position. This is a tough pot. It probably looks easier than it is. Oh, well played. And a little nudge on the brown has done him the world of good. He has a super angle here on the yellow. One good positional shot, probably to a red left of the pink spot that will go past the black into the left corner. Wow, he's overhit that by a long way.
3.
Did not play for this red, but he'll be pleased to be on it as well as he is.
You can just feel there's a bit more pressure on every shot now as we head towards the end game in this match. Certainly that will be the case for Zhang if he can get to 5. It will be a huge win for him. Looking to get back into the top 16. Having slipped out because he lost all of those points that he won in winning a title, getting to a couple of other finals.
11.
Work to be done, as mentioned, in terms of the one-year list for him as well. So this would be a very big deal if he could beat his good friend and
12.
the world champion to get to the quarters again.
Useful having the pink back on its spot.
18.
There are enough open reds here for Zhang to go on and win this frame from here.
19.
And again, it was a great red to get in. It was very missable into the left centre pocket, but he didn't flinch.
$26. 27.
Can play for the red. Just to the left of the pink now, into the corner pocket. If he overruns it, he'll have the red to the centre pocket instead.
$34.
Zhao Xintong wondering if this match is beginning to slip away.
$35.
He's missed a series of blacks off their spots today, Zhao. Another one in this frame. He got a further opportunity. A difficult red, which he missed. But Zhang was able to pot his difficult red to give him this chance to go 3 up with 4 to play. Of course, Zhang was 2 down with 3 to play against Gary Wilson.
41.
So the job would be far from done, but what a position he'd be in.
42.
When you watch Zhang Anda play, he reminds you very much, doesn't he, of Mark Williams. Just rolls balls in, doesn't overcomplicate anything. Simplifies the game as much as he can do.
It's a pretty good template to follow, isn't it? .36 in front.
$50.
So this black and this frame is surely over. He'll have an easy red to follow.
$57.
Well, this is the kind of snooker that Zhang produced in winning
$58.
that international championship title so impressively when he beat Ronnie O'Sullivan, made a 147 in the title match. Zhao Xintong has been comprehensively outplayed so far today. There's still time for him to find something. We know what he's capable of when he gets on a roll, but he's got to do it pretty quickly now.
65.
And that's assuming Zhang offers him the opportunity to do so.
$66.
And he's making these apparently difficult pockets look like buckets at the moment. He's cueing so well.
71. $73.
Another error from the world champion, Zhao Xintong. Another punishing break to win another frame from Zhang Anda, who's now on the brink at 5 frames to 2. Inspired
Settle down now, please.
Zhang Anda,
Thank
who's
you.
playing beautifully.
Well, that's a bit of a different break-off from anything we've seen this afternoon so far. Cue ball much further over towards the middle of the bulk cushion. Don't think Zhao can see this red to cut it in. No, just a safety. And this time the black seems to be tied up as well into both pockets. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, Zhang Anda will have opportunities to win this match. Almost impossible to shut somebody out for 4 frames without them having a single chance. So Zhao Xintong is in all sorts of trouble with a pot success of just 81%. Can't possibly win this match unless he significantly improves.
Four-two now to Ding Junhui, who's just won the 6th frame against Scott Donaldson. So Ding, who always seems to save his best for the UK Championship, looking good at the moment for another quarter-final, the 3 times champion. A couple of finals as well for Ding. One of them he looked nailed on to win when he led Mark Allen 6-1 before Allen won 9 of the last 10 frames. Ronnie O'Sullivan becoming the oldest ever winner, as well as the youngest when he beat Ding in the final. Judd Trump to play the winner of that match on table 2.
Oh, incredibly, there was a gap through to pot that red, and it was a good pot. But a fuller contact on the yellow would have been ideal. He could still pot it to the centre pocket. It'd be on the red in bulk, but it'd be a risky pot.
It's a sign of his confidence, isn't it, that he didn't back away.
Three.
He was entitled to feel a little bit frustrated to be just level at the interval, Zhang, because he played most of the snooker in those first 4 frames, but it didn't faze him clearly.
4.
Yes, the thing about that was, as we have another look at this good red played with pace, was that he did lose the first frame, Zhang Anda. It was a bit of a scrappy affair, lasted 36.5 minutes pretty much. But then he played 2 fantastic frames, made 2 consecutive century breaks of 127 and 129, and he was in the next frame, but it was his own fault for missing a red to the left corner, so it was in his hands, and it was his mistake that led to the 2-all interval score.
9.
By any measure, the best player today by a distance so far. But he knew as soon as he'd hit that he'd overcut it.
9.
And maybe that was just a little tension in sight of a victory. And that's what Zhao Xintong is going to need, as well as a vast improvement in his own game, a few errors from his opponent.
1.
Oh, well, Zhao Xintong go into the reds with pace here, because there's a lovely angle on the black. And that's worked out very nicely.
8.
And if you're Zhang Anda and you miss a pot like that, it can shake your confidence a little.
Nine.
But it's vital that Zhao Xintong really hammers home that disappointment by making something substantial here. His highest break, a modest 68, which won him the 4th frame. That one's only just dropped in.
16.
And you can see what I mean about both players having a very similar style of play. They both like to roll balls in and not play with undue pace. Well, Zhao Xintong thought
24.
that he could hold for a red into the right-hand centre pocket there. And he's gone best part of a foot too far. I don't think he can cut it in now. There's the red, the one that's just below the pink there. I mean, it was still cut in, but can't control the cue ball. Well, it was a bold effort.
Xintong, 24.
He just can't get anything going in the way of a real break of substance. He's had a few chances, but very few have amounted to much.
He's been lucky there. The cue ball flicked off 2 reds there, and he was on the black, but the pot was just too difficult. But this is also a very tough red that he's taking on.
One.
Well, it was a super pot. Did he think he was going to cannon that red to hold for the black? Did he play it with more backspin to try and affect the
Blue
cannon?
ball.
But you can't see it. Is he taking on the blue? This is a tough one. Very thin. Good effort. But it could be a big mistake.
One.
Trying to make something happen here, Zhao. He knows he's got to find something in his game, find a bit of inspiration if he's to turn this pretty bleak situation around, but it's still not happening for him.
One.
Not the best table at the moment with those awkward reds close to the side cushion. But a chance for Zhang to just build a break in the frame he needs.
He should feel pretty good here, Zhang Anda. He's made a couple of mistakes in this frame, but so his opponent as well. So no improvement from Zhao Xintong. But as you say, Phil, there are a few awkwardly placed reds here. And he is still 8 points behind. So lots of work to do to win frame a match from here.
14.
Will probably go up for the red next to the green, I'd imagine. Doesn't have the best angle on the pink to play for the red near this right corner. And this is where he has to decide whether he wants to leave an angle on a bolt colour to come off the side cushion, take the cue ball in to those reds at this end of the table.
22.
May play the brown now, get rid of that red in bulk. And if he can get onto the pink into this left corner,
26.
he could leave himself a beautiful angle on it to either cannon a couple of awkward reds into play or to play for the red nearest the right corner.
27.
Just looking at the scores, he will require all three reds, two of which are easily potable, but the one that's closest to the cushion, the top red of those three, could be a problem. Took the risk there of playing the cannon, and it hasn't worked out badly. One good pot required. And all of a sudden, this is opening up nicely for Zhang. It's there.
34.
Doesn't need to play any cannons now. Just drop onto that red nearest the right corner. You'll need to play it with the rest, in all likelihood. .25 ahead, the red 26, the black 33. Needs the other awkward red, Xintong, wondering whether he's played his last shot at this year's UK Championships. He's got to stun out for the black, so he'll have to just play it with a little bit of pace. It's easy to hit these on the thick side if you're not careful using the rest.
Like almost everything he's spotted today, right in the heart of the pocket. He's made light of any issues surrounding the challenging conditions this week at the Barbican through the sheer quality of his cueing.
There is a but, though. He has too much angle on the black to get close to the red unless he wants to force the cue ball in and out of bulk. So, could still be a little spot of drama left in this frame yet.
26 the lead, 35 still there. Him, and he has a chance to go deeper than ever at the Barbican.